Hello, everyone. Bill Adams, Realtor, Coldwell Banker Realty. Hey, I'm excited to introduce you to two great guys, the owners of Progeny Power, Jeremy Benson and Brandon Collinwood. Hey, Jeremy.
How you doing, Bill?
Brandon, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Why don't we start out with telling us a bit about your business?
Well, Progeny Power started from a few minutes of political interviews, I guess is the best way to put it. And it reminded us of kind of some things that are going on in the utility world that we wanted to help clients out with and become a place where they can come get real answers, good answers about what's going on with solar and what's good and bad for them. It grew into, now we are a brokerage with 6 different solar installation companies that we can work with for people and make sure we find the right fit for them. So.
Okay. Well, hey, a little side note. So solar sort of gets a bad rap quite often, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So tell me, what sets you apart and what keeps you out of that black hole?
I think the biggest thing for what sets us apart is education and knowing what we're doing. I think there's a lot of people that get into solar, and actually maybe a lot of industries, where they don't really know enough and there's not a lot of training in place because it's a newer industry. And so because we've been involved with the solar industry so long, I've been in since 2012, and Jeremy's been in for almost a couple of years now. And so we have had a lot of experience with the goods and the bads with companies, the goods and bads with what you should and shouldn't do with solar on a roof, and also the experience with the utility companies and what people should expect after they go solar. And I think those are the biggest things. As long as you know what you're doing and you have good experience for people to lean on and trust, then you can know you're being taken care of.
Okay, well, speaking of good experiences, I'm sure you've had some memorable moments along the way in the solar business. A particular one that comes to mind you'd like to share with us?
Let's see. Boy, a memorable moment.
I think a memorable moment for us would be a client that Brandon worked with last year. Just when you think you have enough solar, you don't. He had a client that had a power bill of over $1,400 a month. And because of space limitations, we were only able to get him, what percentage offset?
Like 48%.
48% of his offset. And there were 3 ground mount arrays on his property because we couldn't put on his roof. That's a memorable moment. You generally, when you have that much solar, you would think you would be able to offset more of someone's home. But there are some serious power users. I thought I was a power user when my bill, before I went solar in the summertime, my highest was $600. This guy's was $1,400.
Wow.
That's pretty memorable.
Yeah, I would say so.
I've run into a few people that it is interesting what they do with their electricity. And I had one client up in North Scottsdale that I think he had 10 horse stalls that were all air conditioned. Outdoor air conditioned horse stalls. So you can imagine those bills tend to be a little high. So not everybody uses electricity the same way. So
imagine what he probably fed those horses, right?
I can imagine.
So you alluded to some of the challenges in the industry. You want to elaborate a little bit more on some of the challenges that you face?
It's very simple, honestly. It's no different than politics. And honestly, it very much is like politics. There's a lot of propaganda out there. And unfortunately, there's a lot of individuals and companies and advertising agencies that will say anything they want and they can through advertising to try to either discourage or encourage you to fill out this form. And they promise you all this for free and all this and all that and the government free and free, free, free. And then when they show up and actually meet someone who knows what's going on in the industry, they understand how to properly size a system, and then they realize it's not free, it's really disheartening to run across all those clients who have been informed so wrongly, unfortunately.
And there's a lot of benefits. There's some great tax credits that's available. The 30% tax credit is pretty huge for people. But I think the most interesting thing for me is how little education, maybe this is the biggest challenge for us, how little education people have about their current utility, right? It seems like people are getting more educated about solar and understanding that there's different programs out there, that there's batteries and there's a lot of different options. But it's so strange to me that how many people know the last time that their utility rate went up and how much it went up.
Yeah.
Who knows what it's going to go up in the future, and how much they're actually, how much influence and control they have over what utility company they have, what those utility companies do to produce the electricity, how they're spending the money that they're paying, and there's so little education on that. I mean, in fact, one of my favorite questions that we always joke about is, what's the return on investment for solar? Well, any return on investment is better than what you're currently doing with your utility company, because you're renting and throwing away the money, and there's no asset that you're building at the same time. And so I think the lack of education with regards to what their current cost of electricity is and how they're getting electricity is probably the biggest barrier for most people.
Interesting. So what do your clients say about you? What do you hear coming back?
They hate us. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. They don't hate us. They love us. A lot of the feedback we get is, we hear it all the time. I didn't know that. No one ever told me that. Man, I wish I would have known that. Because we spend most of our time not necessarily selling. We spend most of our time educating. Yeah. And when someone is informed, they can make an informed decision. And we're just there to help them do that. So that, and they're kind of scared of us.
We are short and small, so that has a lot to do with it.
Brandon's about 6'4", 6'4", and I'm 5'20", so we take up most of the door frames.
The good news is we don't get on the roof to do any of the checking, so you don't have to worry about that.
Good. That's good to hear.
I will say, for me, the most humbling thing that somebody has told me about me, as far as for my business, is I had somebody tell me that I was honest to a fault, almost to a fault, I think is what he actually said. And I appreciated that, because if we ever make a mistake, we're not going to hide that. We'll come forward and we'll talk to people and make sure that we make good on that. And that's more important, the experience of our customers, than making sure that I save face with somebody. So that's been the most humbling thing that somebody said about me.
All right. What motivates you guys?
Well, Brandon has 5 kids at home, and I have 4 kids at home, and we have happy wives. At least that's what they tell us. Honestly, that's our biggest motivation. That's part of the reason we named our company Progeny Power. Progeny means posterity, family, children, and we're doing this for them. You know, we're building a legacy, not necessarily just a company.
Well said. So I'm sure you work like crazy building the business. And so what do you do for fun? You got to have time for yourself.
We have no fun. You remember the 5 kids and 4 kids come? No, I'm totally kidding.
No fun.
The fun is here right now, right?
Sometimes that fun is going out into the desert, even together as families, and riding around in our Volkswagen Bajas. And sometimes the fun for me is being able to have a few minutes to sit on the couch and listen to my kid play the violin as he's learning how to do that. And that's what life is about, is whatever's important to you and to your family. And so that, again, the name of the company is named Progeny for a reason, because that is our priority. And that's where we have our most fun, is with our families.
Wow. Sounds like well-rounded individuals, great company, great product, great service, and family, and what more could one ask for? I appreciate you spending time with us today. Thank you, Brandon. Jeremy. Brandon. Of course, I got it wrong.
No,
but you guys are sort of like twins anyhow.
You would not be the first person to assume.
Nope.
Lots of people do.
Alrighty, folks. Hey, if you want the honest insight into solar, as to whether there's an opportunity for you to benefit, these are the guys to talk to. So please reach out to Jeremy, Brandon at Progeny Power. This is Bill Adams, Coldwell Banker Realty. Thank you.